So I show you guys a lot of pedals made in the US, and then quite a few made right here in the UK, and then there's a handful of other places where I get pedals from, France, Greece, places like that. But I actually don't think I've ever at least shown you guys a pedal that has been made in South America, which is crazy actually, because I know that there is a huge community of guitar players out there, and a chunk of you also watch this channel. So it brings me great pleasure to show you guys this stunning flanger pedal that's made in Brazil. This is the Krozz Devices Airborn, an all analog flanger with a BBD chip inside that is more versatile than most digital modulation pedals out there. Been an advocate for flange as an effect. I think it can cover so much ground, more ground than most other modulations. I guess it shares quite a lot of DNA with a chorus, so it can kind of cover decent chorus sounds, but it can also cover vibrato, rotary, phaser, you know, all of those sorts of things, as well as having its own thing as well. So flange is already a very versatile effect in my opinion, and this is about the most flexible one I've come across, and somehow it's still all analog. Through a circuit based around a BBD, a Bucket Brigade device, the Airborn allows you to recreate pretty much any iconic flanger tone that's ever been made, as well as create some new ones for yourself as well. Side note as well, I tend to like to run my flangers before my overdrive pedals, so anytime you're hearing a drive tone in this video, it is the Airborn is running into the MEQ driver from Origin Effects. here are relatively in depth actually, and that allows us to get such a varied range of flanger tones. One thing I do like about the control layout of the Airborne is that we have a level control. This allows us to either balance the flanger tone with the rest of our rig, use it as a solo boost even if you're always kind of going to go for a flanged solo, or probably my favorite application is if you're running into a gainier amp, for example, you can turn that down to have your cleaner, more modulated sounds, almost acting as if you're turning the volume down on your guitar. The range knob here on the right selects the range of frequencies that the modulation spans. Higher settings will give you those massive flanger sweeps that kind of we associate with that sound. Rate is pretty obvious, however we can max out that setting momentarily by holding the right foot switch here, kind of getting some more rotary sounds there. I like doing this a lot. You're going to be familiar with what feedback does if you know your flanger pedals. Essentially it sets the intensity of the effect. Cranking it all the way, this pedal can get almost self-oscillation. On the other side of things, oxidation is probably a control you're not familiar with, at least one I've never seen on a flanger pedal before, and it is my favorite control on the whole pedal. It works in conjunction with the feedback knob, and it kind of tames those higher frequencies that can get a little too harsh and resonant with some flanger pedals. All the way up, the sound is completely wide open, more characteristic of classic flanger pedals. However, when you turn it down, it tames off those higher frequencies and almost sounds more analog in a way. I like this control a lot. Switch in the middle selects between positive and negative feedback. I imagine most of us are always going to leave it in the positive setting. This gives it the most natural sounding flange. However, in the negative setting, it really drastically changes the effect and it kind of just sounds really hollow. It's a weird sound, a very interesting sound, definitely a sound that I associate with flangers, but not something I reach to personally all the time, but it's cool having it nonetheless. would say flanger is the most divisive modulation effect. You either love it or you hate it. And is the Airborn going to change the minds of the people who already think they hate flange? Probably not. And I think that's because the controls offer such a wide range of tones that it's going to take you a minute to find the flanger tone that you might be looking for. I don't have that problem though, because I already absolutely love flangers, and for me this pedal kind of covers all the classic territories that I want to go when it comes to flange. It does the subtle thing really, really well, and that oxidation knob is just the best addition I've ever seen to a flanger pedal. It manages to sound classic without being metallic sounding or shelving off a load of low end, which are the two main complaints that I ever see about flanger pedals. And I would say, yeah, this for me now, this is the be all and end all when it comes to flange.